Hey everyone, it's Laura Aubrey, and today we are here to answer the internet's most asked questions on Google in Louisville, Kentucky. So to start off, we're going to talk about how do I, all right? How do I don't know what these questions are, so let's see. How do I know how much money to bring to closing? Great question. Before closing, you are going to get a closing statement from the title company, typically 24 to 72 hours before closing, that is going to specify how much money that you need to bring. You'll also typically get this from the lender at least a week before closing. All right, next question. How do I, oh my goodness, let's see here. I feel like I'm opening up a present. How do I get the Homestead tax exemption? Great question. First of all, you have to be 65 years or older. Second of all, you're going to go to the PVA, the property valuation oh my gosh, I should know what that is. You're going to go to the PVA on the Louisville Gov's website, and there's going to be a drop down. You're going to click that. You've got to put in your driver's license, or you got to send them your driver's license and basically apply for it. All right, next question. This is kind of messed up. Let's see. Right. How do I know if an investment property is right for me? Great question, and probably not one that I can answer super easily for you, because every investor has their own formula. What you have to decide is what your formula is. Do you want single family? Do you want multifamily? Do you want short term, midterm? And once you have clarity on that, I can better help navigate that process for you. All right, how do I buy a house before selling mine? Great question. And again, a little bit loaded, but overall, you work with a great agent that's going to help you understand how quickly your house is likely to sell, so that you can understand whether or not you can afford to keep your house before buying your next house. But all of that's going to come down to whether or not you are pre-approved to buy the second house without selling the first house. So there's a lot of dominoes that have to be put into place before they can fall. But the only way to determine that is to probably sit down with a realtor and outline everything. And last question, falling apart. Yikes. How do I estimate a home's project's cost? Well, things have definitely gotten a lot more expensive over the last several years. The best way is to get somebody to come over to your house and give you a quote, and probably get 2 to 3 different quotes. I can usually get pretty close on a ballpark of certain things. Small, major renovations become quite a bit of an investment in order to get a full account for what those costs are going to be. But talking with friends, talking with realtors, talking with the actual vendors is going to give you the best idea. So the next set of questions start with what happens if, all right? What happens if the seller didn't disclose something that's important? Now, what is important is a little gray, right? It's mostly did they fail to disclose something that they should have known about? And there are protections in our contract that if you close on a property and you feel like the seller misrepresented something, there are courses of action that you can take there are courses of action that you can take to try to rectify that. Next, what happens if the seller takes all the landscaping? This actually happened to one of my clients who I had the buyer with. Our contract, and this is in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, actually stipulates that landscaping must remain with the house. So a seller, if you want the landscaping, take the landscaping out before you list the house. If the house is listed for sale, you then have to negotiate with the buyer so that you're clear on what you're taking, because actually anything that's planted is supposed to stay. And if they do take it, on the situation that I had, the sellers actually had to give a gift card to a local greenery, and my buyers were able to basically go back and plant the taken landscaping. All right. What happens if I skip the inspection walkthrough? Nothing happens. The inspection is there for you. It's to educate you about what it means to be a homeowner in this next home. So nothing happens. You don't get an F or anything like that, but it's to your benefit to be there. So I always tell my clients, try to schedule a time for the home inspection that you can be there for at least the tail end of it. So the last 30 to 45 minutes. Of course, if you can be there the whole time, that's great, because you can spend time in the house, measure, do all of those great things, but nothing happens if you're not there. The inspection will get done. All right. What happens if I try to buy a house from a for sale by owner? Nothing happens. It's all good. We work with for sale by owners all the time. Now, if you're working with me, I always tell my clients is you've got to let me be the first phone call. I'm going to be the one that makes the introduction. I'm going to be the one to be able to get the details. So if you're driving around and you see a for sale by owner sign, you just shoot me a picture of that sign and then I'll take a call and we'll take it from there. What happens if repairs can't be finished before closing? Ooh, that can be a tough one. There are a couple ways that you can mitigate this. One, you can extend closing as long as it isn't going to negatively impact your financing. Sometimes rates expire, some things may happen. I always recommend that being the first course of action because when you take ownership of the house, you want to know everything is done. Second thing that can be done is they can escrow money. And so if the repair's not done and you want to ensure that the repair gets done and that the vendor is paid for the job that was done, the title company can hold back the money, let's say from the seller. And then when the job is done, the escrow, the title company pays the vendor. And then they know that work has been completed and it's not something that will come up as a lien on your house on down the road. And then the last thing is if there's something that what I call a little more black and white, where let's say it's a radon mitigation install. If it can't get installed, the seller can credit the buyer the amount of money that it would take to mitigate it or fix the problem, and they would just, it would be a credit to the buyer on the closing statement. Our last set of questions have to do with, do I have to, all right? Question number 1, do I have to sign in at an open house? It really just depends on the person hosting the open house. The reason we ask people to sign in on an open house is 1, the seller knows who's coming into their house. This is their personal home and anybody from the street can walk in. So signing in gives, there's an element of safety that's nice to have. So if something happened or something went missing, we have a list of people that have been through the house. It also is a great opportunity where, let's say you do the open house and you like the house and you can sign in and say, I'm working with a realtor. So you would put Laura Aubrey as my realtor. Well, if that agent that's hosting the open house has some interest, they could follow up with me and they would know who to follow up with in order to say, are there any questions I can answer? We've received an offer. Did your folks have any interest? So yeah, so that signing in the open house may be required by the person hosting it, and those are the reasons why it's nice to sign in. All right. Do I have to do a walkthrough before closing? There is no law that requires you to do it, but I would never advise my clients to not do a walkthrough before they've signed on the dotted line, because after closing, it gets a lot more difficult to negotiate things. So the reason that you do a walkthrough is 1, if repairs have been negotiated, you want to make sure that those repairs were in fact completed and completed to your satisfaction. You want to make sure that the movers didn't move a piece of furniture and put a big old scratch across those pretty hardwood floors. And if they did, you want to be compensated for that. So you just want to ensure that the house is in the condition it's supposed to be in when it becomes yours. And the only way to do that is with a walkthrough. But don't ever do the walkthrough the morning of closing. There's nothing more stressful than something happening the morning of closing and then you're trying to come up with a solution. So I always recommend at least 24 hours, but 48 hours is preferred. Do I have to close during business hours? Great question. Lots of people work remotely. Sometimes our hours are a little bit different. I would say most title companies are going to close during business hours. You might be able to get in there closer to 8, or they might stay open for you closer to 6. But in my experience, most of the signings, because they're done with title companies and attorneys, they have to be done during business hours and not on weekends. All right. Do I have to be in town during the closing? Now, this is a great question. And no, you don't. Now, if you're a buyer, the lender needs to know that you're not signing in person, because lenders are sometimes a lot pickier about you being in town or not in town for the ink signatures. In Kentucky, we still do a lot of ink signatures. As the sellers, you tend to have a little bit more flexibility. We can oftentimes coordinate remote notaries where they can meet you. I've had people meet somebody out on a golf course to be able to sign paperwork because that was convenient for them, or at their hotel or at their office place, even if they've lived here in town, just because they couldn't get there to the closing. So you don't have to be in person. You just have to make sure that you let everyone know if you are or are not signing in person. And the last one, do I have to wait until spring to buy or sell? There are no rules about when you need to buy or sell. It's a matter of when you find the perfect house for you. Now, oftentimes that happens in the spring because that's when the most, you statistically say, when is the best time to sell. Data would say that it's in the spring. But it's November and December right now, and we have tons of people buying houses, right? It's really just a matter of what your situation is. The one thing you need to do is sit down with an agent so that you understand the plan, so that if your magic wand house happens to hit the market in December, you're not just thinking, oh, I gotta wait till the spring. So hopefully this was super helpful for you, give you some insight and perspective on and answers to some of the most asked questions that we come across. Of course, if you're liking this content, be sure to like and subscribe. And thank you to all of the people that have just joined us and subscribed. We just kicked off this channel a few months ago, and we are continually grateful for everybody that is following and supporting us. And so I look forward to seeing you all in the neighborhood, and be sure to comment below if there's anything that we can answer for you.